Yo, what's up? All right, new live stream today. So I feel like we're at a place where the mix on Foxgloves is really solid. I'm feeling really confident with this particular mix. Hold on a second. I gotta move the mic just a little closer, just to make sure you guys can hear me. Apologies about the noise. Yeah. So what you heard just then is the mix up until just now. And I'm feeling really confident with it. I feel like it has the dynamic movement and everything that I've wanted it to have since I first heard it. So now we begin the mastering process. The mastering isn't necessarily it's not necessarily like a black art or anything like that. It's not anything like super mysterious. I'm just going to run through several types of, you know what? Hang on a second. Clean. There's going to be a couple of these plugins, I think, that are pumping a little bit of noise just naturally. So I'm going to just double check. Hold up. Let's check at okay, so drums, no bass, no keys, FX. So it's just drums. So there's something in the drums that's putting in a little bit of noise. So we're just going to go through and just double check our plugins, specifically the Radiator plugin. Yeah, there it is. I hate when plugins add noise like this. It's just kind of frustrating, or at least like default to noisy. Like I don't understand why. Yeah. So that was it. So my toms were giving just a little bit of noise. All right. So let's go back to this. I don't think that I need to do much when it comes to EQing the mix just yet. The thing that I really like about the Pro Q3, whoa, gotta turn that on silent. All right, cool. I hate phone notifications. It's like the bane of my existence. The thing I like about the Pro Q3 is its transparency plus its spectrum analyzer. Being able to see the entirety of the spectrum and where it is, like across, like if I want to just go to the verse and make sure that everything is fairly level or normal. I kind of know where my peaks should be, depending on what's up, Ameya. How you doing, duder? The thing is with the Pro Q3, more often than not, I like having just the spectrum kind of level here. Now, that's not necessarily going to be, this is something I learned from Nolly, that this line actually represents the like pink noise curve. For anybody who gets into using Pro Q3, just so you know, where is it? The analyzer. The tilt, 4.5 dBs per octave. This is actually tilting the spectrum this direction. So you have like your highs. Like if you were to send not white noise, but pink noise through just a regular spectrum analyzer with no tilt, the slant, there would be a pretty discernible slant, because pink noise is all frequencies at equal volume. Yes. Equal power? I can't remember. It's one of those two. It's either pink noise is all frequencies at equal power, and white noise is all frequencies at equal volume. Yes, I think that's correct. So what this does, this slant, makes it so your pink noise line basically just goes almost straight across. I think it does have like a slight upwards tilt. But anyway, so I use the Pro Q3's analyzer to kind of understand where my frequencies are at and if they're level within the mix. So when I turn this on, and again, this is on my mastering bus. So it's pretty level. All right. I did all right. Okay. So now we're going to start adding certain elements, kind of testing things out, listening to different sections of the mix as well. Because this song is very dynamic, I can't just put in just a single kind of preset. I kind of have to see what works for the entirety of the track. Maybe even automate some things in or out. We'll see. I might just leave it kind of simple for now and then see what we can do with it after, I get some feedback. Okay, Pro Tools is freezing up on me. This is awesome. So one of the first things that I typically do with mastering, like obviously I have my EQ. I don't feel like I need to do much with the EQ because I feel like I was pretty thorough with the individual tracks and buses. Once you get that all squared away, you can then start looking at shaping. So adding saturation and compression, limiting, clipping, that sort of stuff. So, and typically I'll go in general terms, I'll go EQ, saturation, widening if I need it, clipping, then limiting. Oh yeah, no worries. Hopefully what I just said came through. But basically, yeah, so EQ, saturation, maybe some stereo widening. I'll go through all of my normal plugins. I think Pro Tools might have crashed. I don't know. Hang on a second. Everything's saved, everything's backed up, so I'm not losing anything, but this would be lovely if it didn't do this right now. Hey, look at that. Just go back to this and restart the program real quick. So a handful of the plugins that I enjoy using. Obviously, Pro Q3 is my go-to for very clean and dynamic EQing. It's really great for pulling out random whistling frequencies and that sort of thing. So I use that on 80-90% of my mix. For tone shaping EQs, I enjoy the Abbey Road's mastering, or TG mastering, or something like that. I think it's called. I'll demonstrate it in a few minutes. Open recent mixed. Okay. F in chat. Yeah, Pro Tools. Gotta love Pro Tools. I'm actually thinking I might end up switching back over to Cubase at some point soon. I've kind of had it with Pro Tools in some ways, and now that I don't have to stick to Pro Tools, and I'm kind of a free agent, I suppose, I might go with a program that I have and own outright. Imagine that. Okay, so we're back in. I didn't change anything between opening the session, playing, and starting. So, I am on Windows. I tried switching over to Mac while I was in Finland, and it just did not work for me. I've been a Windows guy my whole life, and I understand that Mac has its positives. There's definitely ease of use when coming to drivers and stuff like that. So I have my quad cortex here, and it's just easy because most of the time when you plug something into a Mac, it just works. The drivers are usually so robust that you can just plug your stuff in and it goes. Windows is a little bit more finicky with audio drivers, which is kind of unfortunate. However, the Windows ecosystem is really useful for me, especially doing all of this stuff, all the live streaming. Barak says, do you have experience using Isotope Ozone? I'm thinking of using it for mastering. I've dabbled with it a little bit, but I think I got that one after I had already started formulating my own mastering chain within my plugin. I know a lot of people who use it, and it's a great tool. If they have a demo of it, definitely give it a shot. I always encourage people to demo stuff before buying it. Especially if you already have a lot of tools on hand to work with, because it's what's the return on investment that you're getting with that particular plugin purchase. But as I said, I think, do I have that one installed? No, I think that's still in my account. I didn't install it. So let's go ahead and save this. Ameya. Okay, so that's a good question. So he says, I've been using Windows all of this time, but thinking about making the switch to Mac OS. Any advice? If your intention is to go over to Mac for audio production, and that's it, it's not a bad switch. I mean, I think that the monetary introductory level to getting a good PC versus getting a good Mac are very, very different. Obviously you're investing a lot more in a Mac, in the Mac infrastructure monetarily than with Windows. However, there's pros and cons to either system. I think that you can do great work on either one. It depends on what you feel you're going to get out of your investment, because there is that learning curve. If you've been a Windows guy your whole life and then try to go over to Mac just because everybody else is using Mac, or you might think oh, it's going to help my workflow, it probably won't. Now I there are certain instances where it is beneficial. For instance, I actually was originally a Cubase guy. I never used Pro Tools. However, when I first started working in audio, I worked for an audio engineer in LA, and I could he asked me to be his assistant. And I was like, okay, cool. What do I need? He's like, well, I only work in Pro Tools, and I want to send you Pro Tools sessions so you can work within what I'm working in. It'll make make everything just that much easier. And I'm like, okay. And at that point, I had never used Pro Tools, but I was like, okay, well, they have a subscription thing, so I guess I now work in Pro Tools. And I've been working in Pro Tools ever since. It's just made sense to be in this program. But now I could probably work in something else. I could work back in Cubase. So yeah, I guess a very long-winded answer to that. I think that the M1 chip has exceptional capabilities. The only issue right now is that not all plugins are native to the M1 system. They're native. You can use them through Rosetta compatibility, or however that's said, which I've heard can be problematic for certain plugin companies, because not everybody's been able to adapt their plugins to that environment. So knowing that, going in and thinking okay, cool, I'm going to go to this Mac M1 system, and you're right, it does have exceptional capabilities. However, not everything is going to be compatible with it just yet. So for me, if I was looking into a Mac OS system, I would definitely research what plugins I have, and are they compatible. Otherwise, the investment isn't really worth it, because if you're going through, Rosetta to make your plugins compatible with the system, it's not really taking advantage of the M1 chip, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know. I'm not the most well-versed on that aspect, but I know you'll do your research. I have no doubt that you're already looking into that kind of stuff with the thoroughness, and yeah. So that's the one thing that I think I would be probably just careful about, is just making sure that everything that you have would still work on a Mac. So. All right, so going back to this. Oh, yes, I did change one thing. Those were the toms. I changed it to toms radiator, noisy to clean. Noisy to clean. I hate it when they add noise. Waves is particularly, or at least used to be really, guilty of that. Putting noisy, like dirt or noise or analog switches in their plugins. Okay, that's a really, really good question. It's like, what did you do to get better when you were just starting out mixing? Because making my own tracks and mixing them is very time consuming. I forced myself to have specific limitations. So there's been studies done about like for instance, a study was done where you had two groups of people. One group of people, they were given a task: make one singular perfect like piece of pottery, right? And the second group was said, make as many pieces of pottery as possible within this allotted time. Okay. So at the end of the experiment, the people who were supposed to make the perfect piece of pottery created a piece of garbage. You know, even though they spent the entire time making that single piece of pottery. And then on the other hand, you had the people who had made the most amount, and they ended up creating perfect pottery. So there's sort of a lesson to be had in that, where you shouldn't be hung up with perfection. Do the best you can with what you have. You know, don't spend so much time on it that you're also fatiguing your ears. Take multiple breaks, get perspective, listen to other mixes, try and kind of disassemble what they're doing and try and apply it to yours, and then move on. I find a lot of people when they're starting out, and I did the same thing, spend a ton of time like really getting into like the nitty gritty and just like, you know, like burning themselves out. Like one of the first times I tried to like reamp guitars. This was actually with, I had like a 2 Notes Torpedo Live and my Mesa Boogie dual rectifier head, and I was going to reamp my guitars for a project that I'd been working on. And I reamped guitar tones. It was like heavy metal tones. So broadband distortion, loud. Like I wasn't listening to it even very, very loud, but I listened so long that I ended up like hearing like a ringing after turning everything off. Like I had just given up after like a couple of hours, you know, and I'd been listening to it. I'm making adjustments and doing this and doing that and just like never giving my ears a break. And you lose perspective because it only takes a couple of seconds for your ears to start adapting to frequencies they're listening to. So I was just like damaging my ears, like not permanently, but like, you know, hearing loss or hearing damage is they're two variables, is decibels and amount of time. So even listening at a moderate level for that long did damage to my ears, which was very eye-opening. So giving yourself like a limited amount of time to work through your mixes and doing as many as possible, you know, okay, here's something you could try, you know, and I'm thinking of this off the top of my head. So if you have like 8 songs, right? Work on that first song. Give yourself 2-3 days. Start off with just the basics. Get your level correct. Start doing EQ. Then work in compression. Slap a mastering chain on it. Call it good. Move on to song 2. Work through it again from scratch. Don't try and template anything just yet. And then do the same thing. Get your levels right. EQ, then compression, then slap a mastering chain on it. So on and so forth. Get through your 8 tracks, right? And then start over from the beginning. Then compare track 1's first run through to track 2's run through. Or track 1's first run through to the second run through. And see how much you've improved with those iterations. I can almost guarantee you that your second run through of the track is going to be better than the first. So, okay, back to the task at hand. Okay. Oh yeah, that's coming from the keys, I think, right? There's like, I see this little thing, and then obviously that's like way below the noise floor, but I'm going to be a stickler here for a second. What? What? Oh, the lead. Where's this coming from? Archetype Plenty. Oh, I see. I see. Okay. 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 We're just going to freeze this. So that way it's not taking up any additional CPU space. So yeah, hopefully that kind of breaks it down for you in a way that makes sense. And that's ultimately how I got better at it, was just, work on a project, get it as good as you can, move on to the next one. Because you're not going to make perfect mixes on your first run through. I mean, like, so if you go back and you listen to some of my earliest mixes with Neural DSP, like, I think they sound like trash compared to what I can do today. And it's only because I had very, very strict deadlines that really made me better at that sort of stuff, because I had to make decisions. I had to trust my gut and my instinct. Being in an environment that's conducive to mixing. So like if you're in a bedroom or something like that and you have like, trash acoustics, get yourself a pair of headphones that are adjusted for sonar works. That's what I've been doing, and that's actually improved my mixing again, because I had to get really, really good at listening to music within these headphones. So it took me I'd spend some time listening to a reference, like songs that I'm really familiar with, and just understanding how these speakers react to audio. Yeah, no worries, dude. No worries. Let me know how that goes, too. If you ever want to send me some of your stuff, you're more than welcome to. My email is in the description. So, all right. So this is committing, and then we'll get back to the mastering chain, which I'm really excited about. I am stoked with how this track is coming out. Very, very stoked. Do 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 do. Get a seconds, couple seconds. Ow. Good morning and happy Friday. This is the wifey in the chat. It's cool seeing the little moderator wrench next to your name. That's funny. She's gonna keep all the all the bots in line while I'm working on the mastering chain. Thankfully not metal. Okay, so it's funny that there's, and this is completely random. It's funny that there was when I first did I did the first couple of live streams on the channel, and my chat was just filled with bots, and now that's really quieted down quite a lot. I think we only had one the other day, so that makes me happy. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna go through a couple of parts just to see if I need to take any frequencies out of the master. Okay, so off the top of my head, I don't think that it needs too much EQing. I mean, I'll go through and see. Okay, let's see if this does this crash again. Please, please no. This might have crashed again. Hold up a sec. Oh man, come on. Okay. Awesome. Couldn't be happier than it's Friday because my track is getting mixed. Dude, I'm having fun with this, man. I really am. That's why I was so excited when you sent me that track. I was like, awesome. I could work with this. This is like, it's good music. It's fun. Like, and it's different. I think that's what kind of like makes me happy. It's like, it's like, it's got something to it that's like not really being featured a whole lot. Like if you scroll through like the neural DSP forums, like nobody's writing music like this, which is, you know, so I'm like, yes, let's get in, let's do this. This is gonna be fun. Prarak, how do you know what frequencies are troublesome at this stage of the mix? Do you look for the transients or something else? So balance. I'm looking for balance, and I'm sure you guys heard it. Now, this is a particularly, oh dang it, yeah, Pro Tools crashed again, motherfucker. Okay, looks like I have to not use the Sheps Omni channel, or maybe I'll just take it off and redo it or something like that. But basically, I'm using that ADPTR AB. It's like the metric AB. I'm using that to listen to the specific frequencies for like frequency spectrums, like, you know, high mids, low mids, sub, bass, just to make sure that nothing is masking the elements that I want to be present in the mix. So if I was to, okay, so I did save it just before clicking that, so nothing lost. So at this rate, what I'm listening for is anything that's like poking out of the mix that is unpleasant. Like if I'm going to be doing any EQ on the mastering bus, it's going to be very, very subtle. It's going to be just very subtle shaping. If you're doing really extreme EQ moves on the mastering bus, then you've done something wrong. You need to go back into the individual tracks and start working with those again. All right. So let's go and save. Let's take the Sheps Omni channel out of there and see if that is. Because sometimes what Pro Tools has a problem with is just recalling settings from previous sessions. See? So Sheps Omni channel is back up. And I didn't really do anything with this this instance of Sheps Omni channel. What I like to do is use this saturation for just a little bit of gentle saturation. I like to use the saturation for saturation. Oh, God. So the problem with being unscripted is you just say dumb things and you just have to live with having said dumb things. Okay. Pro Tools stonks after this live stream. Nah, Pro Tools is fine. Pro Tools is a great DAW. I mean, it's the reason why it's like industry standard. It's not perfect, so I can't really complain about it. It's allowed me to make a living. But then again, I mean, like, my argument with the different DAWs is the same with Mac and PC. It's like, it's whatever works with your workflow. So far, Pro Tools has worked with my workflow, but I'm probably going to be shifting over to Cubase pretty soon. So, it is a great song. All right, let's keep going. So that adds a really nice amount of saturation. Now you could use something like the Decapitator as well. Let's see if this comes up. Hey, look at that. All right, cool. So like, this is the Decapitator. It's a saturator. I mean, like, it's just got like this. You can go from anywhere from like a subtle saturation to like outright distortion with the Decapitator. It's very, very popular amongst a lot of engineers. Let's see what this sounds like. I'm gonna turn the tone there. Thump off. Mix. Auto. Let's see. So each one is going to have a little bit different response. So this E style tends to like dip out a little bit too much of those low mids, kind of the body of the guitars, while raising up a lot of the highs. So like the hi-hat loops and everything started to kind of poke a little bit too much out. And I didn't really dig what this was adding to it. So I'm going to go back to the Sheps and just keep using this saturation because it raises everything up a little bit in a pleasant way. This even saturation. Just gives it a little bit of a life that I really enjoy. So, okie dokie. Now, this is another plugin that I was talking about earlier, the AR Abbey Roads TG Mastering Chain. I don't do much with this. One of my favorites is this spreader knob. I might use the EQ. I haven't really used the other modules too terribly much because I like other tools that I have for that. So like they have the limiter, the filter, tone module, and input. Obviously, you can't move the input around, so that's fine. But what you do have over here is this like little stereo spreader. It gives it pushes it a little bit, just a little bit, which I really like. So I'll show you the difference with this. It's very, it's kind of subtle, but what it'll do is it just pushes out the stereo field just slightly. Sorry, I thought I heard something. I'll push it up so you can hear what the stereo spreader does, and then I'll bring it back down. So very, very subtle details on the mastering chain. You never want to do more than that. if everything has gone to plan, your mix should pretty much already be there. Okay, yeah. So Perak, he says, I need advice on mastering for Instagram especially, because no matter how balanced I try to make my mix, the low end gets all mushed up and boomy. Also, Instagram lowers the quality in general. If I remember correctly, and I know they've changed their algorithm since I was posting a lot of things on Instagram. I mean, I will be posting more soon, so I'm going to have to look into this. But what you could do is, I think, like, Google what quality Instagram will take, because what happens is if you upload a high quality version of your audio, it will use its own algorithm to basically downmix your music, and it's crap and it's awful. So basically, you want to set it up so when they ingest it, they're not going to have to downmix it that much. So, like, for me, an easy way to do that was just to make sure that my clip, like the output of my music, wasn't clipping beyond, I think it was -12 or -6 dBs. So like your music isn't at 0, because then, you know, they're gonna take a look at that and be like, nope, we gotta mix that down. So like lowering the output volume when you're exporting your video is always, you know, a good idea. But definitely do some research, because I know people are gonna have answers to that. They're gonna give you what LUFS it's supposed to be at, or like what volume it could be at. I think even Instagram itself might have some articles as to like the best practices as far as uploading Instagram music to Instagram. Quality is in bitrate. Yes, quality is in bitrate as well as you know, bit depth and oh my gosh, sample rate. God, my brain just shut down for a second there. Yeah, so, you know, sample rate, bit depth, bit rate, you know, if it's like 156, 256, 320, whatever it is, you know, they'll probably be able to answer those questions. Yeah, I'll have some answers for you soon, because again, I'm going to have to research that myself. But that's probably going to be a couple of things you'll need to take a look at. Output volume of your music, sample rate, bit rate, depth, you know, that sort of stuff. I know how frustrating that can be. It's awful. Okay, moving right along. I have been really enjoying this plugin. It's called Golfos. I don't use it a lot. I really like this to be very, very subtle movements. I'll show you what it's like with the more extreme settings. But basically, this is sort of like an AI-derived EQ, like dynamic EQ almost. So this can add frequencies or take them away depending on what it receives. You know, taming peaks or not, or, you know, it's pretty fascinating. Cool. I like that. Let's. I'll push it up so you can hear what it sounds like on the more extreme settings. Cool. So let's go ahead. I kind of want to listen to a before and after real quick. Yeah, drums in the section. It's like, I love the room sound here. I realized shortly after ending the session yesterday that I actually had the bridge, like the drum room over the bridge section routed to my output instead of the drum group. So you guys actually weren't able to hear it. So this like kind of lo-fi saturated kind of sound comes directly from this, and it sounds so cool. Sounds so sick. Oh, the little tinkles of a Petrucci, I think, somewhere. Okay, so that's not going. Where else did I put it? I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so we go back to the mastering. Okay, so now here, like, I think this sounds sick. And now we just make it loud. One of my favorite clippers is this one. Now, it's always going to be per project, right? It's going to be whatever assists the track to be the best that it possibly can be. So, you know, when people say like, oh, I have a templated mastering bus chain that I put in, you know, that I push all my mixes through. It's like, you don't like I have plugins that I like, that I know how to use, that I think really give my mixes or my masters like a personality, right? However, like, I'm not going to use this clipper on all my mixes. I'm not going to use the same settings on the Golfos or the Shep's audio, whatever. Thank you, dude. I'm so glad you like this. After this is all done, I'm going to send off an MP3 so you can have some time to listen to the track, and we'll go from there. So let's go back to Saturate. I love this clipper, dude. This thing is so chef's kiss. It's great. Now this is the part where it's also going to start getting louder. So if it's getting a little bit too loud for the stream, let me know and I'll start backing this thing down. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that right now. Just as I said, I'm going to put this down to minus 12 dBs. So initially it's going to be a little bit lower in volume, but it'll start to come back up to that level when I start using the Saturate and the L2. Okay, so already I'm feeling that this hi-hat loop is starting to get a little bit away from us in the whole mixing mastering process. And again, this is sort of a give and take, right? So whatever I do in the mastering chain, I'm probably going to have to balance a couple of elements as I go along. So that's why you have to be kind of thorough with your mastering, just to make sure that all of these individual sections are going to be treated fairly by these plugins. So Let's keep moving on. Yes, the job of a clipper is similar to a limiter, but the actions are a little bit different. Where a clipper, is pretty aptly named because it actually clips the topmost portion of the transients to bring everything up to like a specific level. So with this limiter, you'll see, or a clipper, excuse me, you'll see like it's actually cutting off like. You'll see this kind of going in, and that's how much of the transient it's cutting off. If I go to the waveform, you'll see what you'll see what it's actually cutting off. So input peak level, output peak level. So what this is doing, depending especially on my clipper shape, is it's either at 100%, like if I go to this gain curve, it's just a brick wall limiter. Whereas what if I take this over here, it's got a knee to it, so it's not going to cut as aggressively the top end. And this will affect your EQ spectrum a little bit differently. So I found that with your clipper shaped very soft, and it's very soft knee, your bass is actually going to come very, very strongly through. Like it's actually going to let a lot more of the bass through than particularly I like. So anywhere like around this area or above is typically where I like to have my my clipper set. Now, I don't like using a really aggressive amount of clipping on the mastering bus, just because when you clip, you're adding some saturation to your mix as well. So let's just start this. I'll start the clipper at 100% and just start adding in some drive. I've set the output to auto. I'm going to change that in a second, but I'm going to try and see if I can keep this generally in the same volume level so you can hear what it's actually doing to the mix. Hrushikesh says, this sounds really nice. It does, dude. It really does. Ameya, who's in the chat as well, this is his track. If you feel you like this music, definitely go to his socials in the description. Follow him. I'm hoping, and I mean, like, this is, we haven't talked about it, but, this is basically a test mix that I'm doing for him. And if he likes what I'm doing, we're going to keep working on, upcoming singles of his. And I'd love to continue doing live streams of them because I really enjoy this process and I enjoy being able to help people out with questions in the chat as well. So, yeah, check out the description. Follow Ameya. He's a rad dude. Excuse me. So, I think I got it to a point that I like it. I just want to make sure in a couple of sections that it's not going to be clipping too much. Because right now we're working with just the verse. And the verse, while it does have a lot of energy to it, is not as loud as some of the other parts, like specifically this triplet part or the very end. So I'm going to go through and listen to make sure that this clipper isn't kind of destroying the balance in those areas. So let's go ahead and start here. Okay, I think the clipper shape was around like 70%. But then once I got to this point, which has a little bit more bass, has a little bit more energy to it, a little less chill. The clipper shape was starting to add a little bit too much bass at 70%. So I knocked it up to 100%. And again, that's only going to be chopping off the very top transients. So like my snare and kick specifically. And now let's go ahead and listen to the very end just to make sure everything is all good here. Awesome. Glad to have you on the stream, dude. Should still check out his stuff and follow him. I'm kidding. That's awesome. Glad you're hanging on the stream. I hope you're having a good time. I'm sincerely enjoying this process. So now for the final bit, Pro L2. Great limiter. To go back to actually Product's question as far as like clipper versus limiter, what happens is at the very top of the transients, a clipper, you'll see like the sine wave. If you push a sine wave into a clipper, you'll get this stop at the very top, straight across, and then back down. Because the clipper's job is just simply to just lop off the top. A limiter's job is to squish those transients back down. So you'll see the sine wave hit the very top and then kind of wiggle as it's being kind of pushed back and then back down again. So, and it gives very, very different results. It's subtle, but it's different. So let's start adding some gain. Again, this is going to start getting louder in your headphones or however you're listening to it. I've backed off the send to the stream, so hopefully this doesn't mess up your guys' experience. Okay. I think I might need to attend to the room just slightly. Either back it off just a little bit, but let's go ahead and listen to the rest of the mix. I'm pretty happy with the way that it's turning out so far, so let's go ahead and just start with the intro, listen all the way through. I may make a little bit of adjustments to the mix as we go, but I think this is just about ready, so very exciting. Gonna say, have a good night, Barak, yeah. Have a great night. Thank you so much for asking some really great questions. Honestly, you rock. Hope to see you again. Have a good night. Get some good rest. That's right. Ah, I'm so happy. All right. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I think there's a couple of just maybe balance things that I might take a look at. Maybe bring down some of like the drum, like the hi-hats, maybe poking through just a tiny bit. But I think for the time being, like I can just make some very, 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 very slight adjustments. And I think this is ready to go. So I'm just going to use my Pro Q3 and just check the spectrum on a couple of parts just to make sure I'm hearing what I'm hearing. cool. I think that's... I like them loud, but I think they were poking out just a little too much. I think I gotta turn this one down just a little bit more. Let me just do this real quick. Okay, that is where it is. Okay. Oh, that's... Yes, yes, I see. I get it. I get what's happening now. I was having some problems because the low end was tickling my ear in a weird way. So we got like a little bit of flamming here, which is not a big deal. So let us just do this. Just sort this out real fast. Oops. That one's fine. This one could come back just slightly. Oops. Yeah, that's what was going on. Okay. A little bit of flam. It's not terrible. We just want to make sure that this isn't phasing out with itself. So okay. Thankfully, this is a very small section, so I don't mind just going through and dragging a couple of kicks around. like I just want to make sure nothing messes up on my low end back here. This is supposed to be the strongest point of the song. So let's just make sure everything is good. Oh, I see what's happening. Okay. Sorry, folks. This is some of the... This is sometimes just what you got to deal with audio. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to go through, double check, make sure that everything is perfect, perfectly aligned, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. So what's happening is that there are two kicks that are being layered together to create the sound that you're hearing throughout the mix, utilizing aspects of either kick to complement the other. Unfortunately, with these kicks not being completely aligned, that sometimes will mess up the phase of the kick. So if you... could you tell me why these two MIDI exports might be out of phase? So it depends on if you're using different programs will humanize the timing of their MIDI, potentially. I haven't really dug into the drums or the kicks too much. So it kind of I don't know. I don't know why this is happening. It's not a big problem for me. I mean, because it's just this one section. Everything else exported properly. I went through pretty much all of these, and they all look within limitations. So you go through, just hit tab a fuckload of times, right? This all looks within tolerance. This all looks great. So there's a little bit of variation here or there, but that's still fine. But yeah, different companies will allow for different, timing. If you're using literally the same kick MIDI between two VSTs, I think that's going to be that usually is fine. However, the samples are different, so they're going to trigger in different ways. Yeah, no, I mean it's all good. So I mean, what you can do is go through and double check, because the thing is I've had to go through and create kick accurate MIDI, like sample replacement and stuff like that. VSTIs, again, it's just a different ball game. Like with a VSTI, they have things built into their algorithm to try and give it humanized playing. So if it's like you have a kick, but it triggers within maybe 10 to 20 milliseconds to randomize that, because I think that's actually that's in Superior Drummer 3. They have a randomize option, so that way you don't have to go in and necessarily address each individual MIDI note for randomization. I think probably that's what it is with this as well. It's just that they've introduced kick MIDI randomization between the two different programs that you're using. I think you said you're using One Kit Wonder and P4. So those are going to react a little bit differently. I don't know if there's maybe an option to go into Kontakt and take out that randomization. Check the settings just in case. See if there's a way for you to adjust that. Because yeah, I mean, this is, it's a subtle thing, but it's an important thing. Because I started listening to this section here, and I was like, the kicks seem a little off for some reason. Because at first, the first time through when you sent me the corrected kick, I was listening to this section here. Because I had kind of gone in, I started looking at these kicks, the triplets and stuff, just to see what was going on here, and I noticed that some of the kicks in just prior were out of phase with each other. But I didn't check this down here, which is my bad. I need to make sure when I'm mixing something, it's got to be on par. But I'm not worried about it. In the future, check to see if there's anything you can change as far as randomization goes within the separate programs, because that's probably what it is. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So, what do you say? One final run through. Listen to it, because I think we're pretty much at the end of at the end of where I can get with this mix without having direct feedback from you. So I think let's go ahead and have one more listen through, hear how it sounds, and then we'll answer any questions that anybody has, and then call it a day. I'm so stoked with the way that turned out. Awesome. And Steven Shred, you did make it in time for the final run through. I did make one slight adjustment during the bridge section. I want to go back and listen to that real fast. I wanted this little kind of plinky guitar just to be up just a little bit. Awesome. Yeah, I'm super stoked with the way this turned out. Let's, I figure at this point, we're good. We'll call that a day. I'm going to go ahead and just make sure I have, like, towards the very end of the song mapped out for export. We can call that right there. And then what I'll do is I'll take my master bus. Where is that? Right here? Yep, okay. Just to make sure. And then I have the end here. That way, when I do an export, I can just go click, click, boom, click, click, boom, you know, as the cool kids say. And then just bounce down an MP3 version, Foxglove V1. We'll set this as an MP3 so I can send it without, send it over Gmail. Bounce glove, we'll call it good. Yeah, man, this is brilliant. I appreciate it. I'm stoked for feedback on this. Again, we'll talk more details about the next steps in an email that I will send. I think I'm gonna break for some lunch, and then I'll send this off to you, and we'll talk more about that. So awesome. Anybody else have any sort of questions for me? I got like a couple minutes to bounce this down, and then we'll see how we're doing. This was a lot of fun. I'm stoked for the future. I'm stoked for future projects. Continuing to work with Ameya. Seems like he's stoked on my stuff. Seems like he's stoked on my stuff. So I am also stoked on yours. So, yeah. I'm chilling. This bouncing thing is taking a little bit, but that's all right. So yeah, if anybody's got any questions, we'll go back over to the face cam. Yeah, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to stream your music as well. I mean, hopefully you're getting as much out of this as I am. Because I'm enjoying my time doing this stuff, and I that's something that I really missed while over in Finland was just the moving forward in moving forward 10 time zones really kind of messed up the connectivity that I had with the people I wanted to work with. So I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be doing these live streams again. For Neural, I would do like the Wednesday live streams with artists. I truly enjoyed doing that. Being able to hang out with other people, other like-minded people, as well as being able to interact with the chat and kind of bring questions to bear that might need asking and answering, was a really good time for me. It wasn't hyperbole when I would sign off and say, it's like, this is something that I truly do love and enjoy, is being able to hang out with other people while I work. It keeps me accountable. It actually keeps me, it's funny because it almost keeps me more focused on doing the work than being by myself sometimes. because I have a tendency to fidget and get distracted. So, I think they call that body doubling, actually, because then you're almost like you have somebody nearby that's holding you accountable to doing the work. So your mind just goes, okay, cool, it's time to work. Common thread in ADHD TikTok. Anyway, what was I saying? Squirrel. No, but I'm glad you appreciate it. I'm I'm stoked to hear what you think about the mix so far. Yeah, can't wait to listen. And it's almost done. Yeah, I'm just stoked to be doing this. This is great. We'll see what the future holds. Future projects, future mixes. I got a game plan behind the scenes. My wife and I are working together on it, which is really, really exciting. And yeah, so that's now bounced. That's all finished. And I have to use the restroom. So I think this is a good time to call it a day. Thank you all so much for hanging on the stream. Ameya, thank you for being open to working with me and giving me the opportunity to do this live stream. It's been a lot of fun, and I think it's setting up for a good future to be doing this more often. So, yeah, you have a great weekend too. I'll be in touch with you shortly. I'll send you an email, and we'll talk some more. So, again, thank you all for stopping by. Have a great day, weekend, night, evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you're at in the world. I'll catch you next time.